The Teacup Story. There was a couple who used to go to England to shop in the beautiful stores. They both liked antiques and pottery and especially teacups. This was their 25th wedding anniversary. One day, in this beautiful shop, they saw a beautiful cup. They said, "May we see that? We've never seen one quite so beautiful." As the lady handed it to them, suddenly the cup spoke. "You don't understand," it said. "I haven't always been a teacup. There was a time when I was red and I was clay. My master took me and rolled me and patted me over and over, and I yelled out, 'Let me alone!' But he only smiled. 'Not yet.' Then I was placed on a spinning wheel," the cup said, "and suddenly I was spun around and around and around. 'Stop it! I'm getting dizzy!' I screamed. But the master only nodded and said, 'Not yet.' Then he put me in the oven. I never felt such heat," the teacup said. "I wondered why he wanted to burn me, and I yelled and I knocked at the door. I could see him through the opening, and I could read his lips as he shook his head. 'Not yet.' Finally, the door opened. He put me on the shelf, and I began to cool. 'There, that's better,' I said, and he brushed and painted me all over. The fumes were horrible. I thought I would gag. 'Stop it! Stop it!' I cried. He only nodded. 'Not yet.' Then suddenly he put me back into the oven, not like the first one. This was twice as hot, and I knew I would suffocate. I begged, I pleaded, I screamed, I cried. All the time I could see him through the opening, nodding his head, saying, 'Not yet.' Then I knew there wasn't any hope. I would never make it. I was ready to give up. But the door opened, and he took me out and placed me on the shelf. 1 hour later, he handed me a mirror and said, 'Look at yourself.' And I did. I said, 'That's not me. That couldn't be me. It's beautiful. I'm beautiful.' 'I want you to remember then,' he said. 'I know it hurts to be rolled and patted, but if I had left you alone, you'd have dried up. I know it made you dizzy to spin around on the wheel, but if I had stopped, you would have crumbled. I knew it hurt and was hot and disagreeable in the oven, but if I hadn't put you there, you would have cracked. I know the fumes were bad when I brushed and painted you all over, but if I hadn't done that, you never would have hardened. You would not have had any color in your life. And if I hadn't put you back into that second oven, you wouldn't survive for very long because the hardness would not have held. Now, you are a finished product. You are what I had in mind when I first began with you." The original author of the Teacup Story is unknown, but this Teacup Story illustrates what Jeremiah wrote by the inspiration of God in Jeremiah chapter 18, verses 1 through 6. The word which came to Jeremiah from the Lord, saying, Arise and go down to the potter's house, and there I shall announce my words to you. Then I went down to the potter's house, and there he was, making something on the wheel. But the vessel that he was making of clay was spoiled in the hand of the potter. So he remade it into another vessel, as it pleased the potter to make. Then the word of the Lord came to me, saying, Can I not, O house of Israel, deal with you as this potter does, declares the Lord? Behold, like the clay in the potter's hand, so are you in my hand, O house of Israel. The moral of the Teacup Story: God knows what he's doing in all of us. He is the potter, and we are his clay. He will mold us and make us so that we may be made into a flawless piece of work to fulfill his good, pleasing, and perfect will. May the Teacup Story become our story as we willingly yield to our potter's hand.